Alright, so let's charge forward as I said we would. We need to find out what we're going to do about this whole Claw Island situation. Let's link up with Almora. It's just not worth waypointing. We are so close to the vigil. We'll run there. That 1 silver is that important to me. I cannot imagine a world where I don't have that 1 silver. How much gold do we actually have on this account these days? We bought a whole bunch of stuff. And we've made some of it back. That's not, I mean, it's not a disaster. So I mentioned this before, right? When it comes to gold, I don't feel like Guild Wars 2 really has much of a middle class. I feel like there is a vast number of players that are consistently under a couple hundred gold. I think there's a meaningful number of players that have never broken that 300 gold threshold to get that achievement. I think there's a lot of players that fall into that category. And then there's the players that have gold that's just in the thousands, right? Like I have 7,000 gold, I have 10,000 gold, I have 25,000 gold. I don't feel like there's a real significant middle class in the game where they consistently, routinely have between 200 and 600 gold. I just don't think that exists in this game. I could be completely wrong. The only accounts I look at regularly are my own. But I'm super skeptical of that. All my interactions with other players have... Did I run right past the thing? Oh, it's in Lion's Arch. Now I am going to waste that silver because I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy talking about the economics of the game, which I'm not terribly educated on. Alright. My bad, Almora. My bad. I should have paid better attention. Well, tell me what's going on here, then. Alright, back in Old Lion's Arch. Now, you would think that all these folks would be on high alert, right? Like, the enemy is pushed right to the edge of Lion's Arch. They should be getting ready for, like, imminent engagement with the enemy. And yet, it looks a lot like it did before. Maybe all those drills are taking place elsewhere. Who knows?
Scouts are reporting undead just off the coast. It's a small force, but substantial enough for concern.
Zaitan's overconfident, assuming Claw Island was the only thing standing between its army and Lion's Arch.
Then it's our job to show the dragon how wrong it was.
So really interesting. Coming back to the question of, like, how intelligent are the dragons, and, like, how does that reasoning function? Like, because we tend to think of the Elder Dragons in some cases, and Zaitan for me is one of the cases where I tend to think of it as almost more of like an animal instinct thing, or I don't consider, I often don't feel like there's a lot of, like, higher thought being demonstrated, but here we have a personality attribute, an emotional response, and then a cognitive function being tied together in a way that is, like, very, like, human, right? Overconfidence has resulted in certain decisions being made in certain ways. Versus, like if you see animals fight, that's not something that you would associate with animals, right? Animal A is going to go 100% at animal B until animal B is dead, and only then does it stop. And you would think that's how the Elder Dragons would function, but some more strong suggestion that's not how they function, that there's some kind of higher thought taking place here. Very human characteristics and emotions and so forth. Which we will definitely, much later in the story when we start interacting with some of the other Elder Dragons, we will see that to varying degrees. It seems that the different Elder Dragons have very different, or at least some variation within their ability to kind of function that way.
At ease, War Master. I heard what happened at Claw Island. The Lion Guard... No, the whole city owes you a debt of honor.
I just did my duty, ma'am. Forgel was the brave one. He gave his life to save us.
He will be remembered as one of the Vigil's great heroes, and he will be dearly missed.
Forgel's sacrifice held them back, but it was your bravery that led us to safety, my friend. I am grateful to you. If I can aid in this defense, War Master, I'm at your service.
You took out enough of Zaitan's forces to stop the imminent attack on Lion's Arch, but the dragon won't pause for long. There are reports of undead landing up and down the coast, likely an attempt to soften the city's perimeter. We need to organize the Vigil's forces and defend the beach. Come, let's review the troops.
Let's review the troops. Okay. I mean, I genuinely do feel like there may be some more pressing matters in terms of readiness here. But, I mean, you know, if you... So Guild Wars 2 really has a struggle. Where is it like fantasy, or is it science fiction, or what is this world? We don't know what this world is, because you could like you could easily have like all these like very like medieval-y sort of things here. I don't even know what's going on. Is this a car with a sail? Like but then we also have like super science fiction-y sort of things here. So it can't decide what it wants. And now we're being very medieval about things. We're literally gonna like troop the line. And do a review of the troops. We're gonna, you know, are these soldiers ready?
The forces of the Elder Dragon Zaitan stand on the very threshold of Lion's Arch. If Lion's Arch falls, the nations of Tyria will not be far behind. Fight for your homes. Fight for your families. This is what we've trained for. This is what we've bled for. This is what we will die to defend. We will hold this ground. We are the Vigil.
You can't do this alone. I'll stand with you.
So you know that whole speech, like for some service members, that would be like a very abstract or foreign thing, right? Like if I'd been in Afghanistan, someone was like, "Hey, man, like." Fight for your home. Well, yeah, in principle, like that's what was happening there, right? That's why I was, but that was kind of abstract. Like I definitely did not, while in Afghanistan, like feel like my home was close, or that it needed, you know, like there was an imminent danger right then and there. Now, clearly, if you were in Kharkiv, you would feel different, right? Or if you were in the Donbass or something, like your home, you know, if you're Ukrainian, your home is in imminent danger. It is being attacked, you know, by a very real threat, and you should care about that. So, and that's probably closer to what we're seeing here with this whole Lion's Arch situation. Is like folks who feel that their home is an imminent threat from someone who absolutely wants to destroy them. So probably a more tangible thing. I do think with every soldier, the statement, "This is what you train for," like it's time to put that to use, like that always resonates, right? Okay, a little bit of aero cart fun. I always enjoy using the aero cart, but ultimately, it's not like super rewarding to just aero cart your way through this entire instance. So in a minute here, we'll kind of get down and get a little bit more involved. So now Lion's Arch itself is experiencing an attack of sorts, but obviously not as significant as you know, as the one that Claw Island went under. We don't have bone ships here. Instead, we have a force that kind of scubaed their way in. You know, this amphibious you know, assault force here. And it's not nearly as significant in terms of its, you know, its ability to inflict damage on us as the Claw Island force was. Not that these abominations aren't still, you know, a threat, but not the threat that we were seeing, you know, that the Zaitan's lieutenant presented to us on Claw Island. And we will at some point deal with that. Oh man, just saying, we're losing Vigil here. Get up, guys. Come on. You're fighting like Lion Guard. It's ridiculous. So abominations are interesting because each time they hit a foe, they buff. And in this instance, an instance where we have NPCs, they buff to the max extremely quickly because every time they attack, they're going to hit a whole bunch of NPCs. So it's not just that they need to hit us. hitting the NPCs also causes the buff to stack. This guy has swung once and got 12 stacks of frenzy. We might kill him before he gets. There you go. Now he got 3 more with 1 swing. So when dealing with abominations and some sort of like, like that would be something to take into consideration in like a dungeon or something. Crucible of Eternity, back when like, before power creep, COE felt a little bit more difficult. And you actually use strategies like when dealing with the champ abomination, you would make a concerted effort not to allow it to stack frenzy. Well, in a scenario like this, it just doesn't make a difference. You can't help it because the NPCs are just going to dump stacks on it real quick. All right, we held off that little attack force. Let's see what Amora has to say about it.
Well done, soldiers. That should thin out the undead and take pressure off Lion's Arch for a while longer.
The vigil bought us time, but not advantage. The undead don't get weary, and they have an almost unending supply of troops. We must retake Claw Island and drive Zaitan from these shores. General Soulkeeper, there are many brave souls throughout Tyria who may be willing to lend a hand, if the vigil reached out to them.
True. A few come to mind. A Norn called Fibar has been making his name in the tournaments. Fights like a rabid drake. I also know 2 fine Charr soldiers that I've been trying to recruit for years. Snarl and Galena. They'd be a tremendous help.
Those sound promising. I could go, ma'am, and speak on behalf of the Order.
Good initiative. Pick one or the other, and do your best to bring them aboard. Meanwhile, I'll return to Vigil Keep and rally our crusaders there.
Whatever you decide, I'm going with you. You need the help, and I owe it to Forgal.
Okay, so again, we have a decision, which is awesome. Those make the story a lot of fun, and we really don't get that very much after the core story, so it's nice to be able to enjoy these while we have them. So we got this pit fighter, this kind of gladiator type figure, or we got a war band of Iron Legion Charr. So we view the Charr as being like very regimented in how they're structured and stuff, but actually like they almost have like these social constructs within their legions called war bands, and these are they're almost like unofficial military constructs. It's kind of a weird thing. So like the commander kind of runs it like it's his own crew, and he has control over who is and is not a part of that. And it's part of the Legion, but it doesn't have like a strictly regimented accessions process and attrition process the way like the Vigil might, right? So we got these Charr that we can go link up with. Now I really like the Gear Warband. So that's the name of this particular warband, the Gear Warband. These Charr are a lot of fun. I really like their personality. So let's go check them out. They have some fun interactions and stuff. Oh, all 3 of these are locked. And let's see if we can recruit them and bring them on board for what we are trying to do. This 100% is a situation where we're gonna waypoint. But to where? Let's see, what's faster? We'll go to that one. Alright. Oh man, I have a pathological need to do this event every time I run by it. We don't have time though. We don't have time. Let's see, I kind of want to go this way. So this on our way to this story, this particular story chapter is also going to take us near one of the kind of almost like epicenters, if you will, or one of the most popular spots for AFK farming. Unfortunately, I had forgotten about that when I initially chose it. It's a huge turn on. You know, I mean, I've made my views on that like really clear. I think it's disgusting. I think it's an indictment against ArenaNet that they allow it to continue. You know, at some point they're going to address it, but not until they've been thoroughly embarrassed. You know, like at a public relations level. You know, when some big time streamers like, hey, you know, I've been hearing a lot about Guild Wars 2, let's try it out, and you know, like, you know, they got a few million followers, and they're like, this is, you know, like, what's going on here? I keep hearing about AFK farming. Then you know, it'll finally get addressed. In the meantime, it's not going to be. But we're gonna end up right next to it, so we're probably gonna see it. You know, if ArenaNet's not going to do anything about it, I prefer it stay out of sight. And honestly, generally it is, because of where it tends to take place the most. But this is one of the areas where our story is going to take us exactly where, in all likelihood, there's quite a bit of it happening. May not be the case. Maybe that this is a pretty new map, and I don't realize that, so it's not happening. But and it's like a T4 or T5 dust that you get in pretty plentiful supply on the map. And so you'll just see like massive groups of, yeah, there they are. Look at all these turrets. So we got a lot of NGs here today. And sketchy business. Anyway, all right. I don't even want to really like, it is what it is.
Time to do some real damage.
Today's not the day for me to go off on another diatribe. We got to try and recruit these Charr.
That soldier must be Galena. We should speak with her.
What is going on? So we see there's a
Dreamed of all, as Keith did.
little bit of a battle or something going on over here.
Saw a dragon to fight. I saw land to heal.
This is really central. Some of this dialogue, we got a little bit of this during the Claw Island thing. We get a little bit of it here as well. This is really important to like understanding the Traherne character. I don't love Traherne, and a lot of, you know, he kind of gets a bad rap as like, you know, useless NPC, and that, you know, that happens a lot of times in games like this with NPCs. The more time you spend with a single NPC, the more likely they are to kind of get that feeling, right? But that's really important to developing Traherne's character. Is he has this wild hunt. So the wild hunt is this like singular purpose for existence that some Sylvari have, and we're kind of led to believe, the way the lore is set up, that some Sylvari experience and some Sylvari don't. It's like a calling in kind of the Judeo-Christian sense, right? So he has this calling to not to defeat the enemies of Or necessarily, but to cleanse Or from Zhaitan's influence. So kind of slightly different than whereas Kaith has this calling to actually defeat Zhaitan himself. Alright, what does Galena have to say about all this?
Legionnaire Galena Edgecrusher?
What an Adelburn's gutted hide are you supposed to be? You don't look like reinforcements.
Better. I'm here with a challenge. Zhaitan's undead army has taken Claw Island, and we need your skills to defeat them. General Soulkeeper says you're the best.
I am the best. I fight Zhaitan? Mists and mortars. I've got my hands full with these ember spirits. I can't fight a dragon. My orders are to bombard that hill until that ash trash creeps up there and kills the shaman. At this rate, it could take months.
Where are they then? With your bombardment distracting the Flame Legion, it should be an easy matter to sneak up to that peak.
The Legion sent Snarl Backdraft to do the deed.
but the lazy cur hasn't shown up. Wretched, good-for-nothing, soot-furred lout probably went swimming.
You stay here and keep the bombardment going. We'll look for Snarl. He may have run into something he can't handle.
We? There is no we, Twiggy. I'm not interested in a waterlogged ash deserter. Do whatever you please.
Oh man, Galena, that's a tough crowd right there. So, and this is what I enjoy about the whole Snarl and Galena thing, is that they are kind of fun like that. Okay, we're gonna end up probably needing to clear these fish, so we might as well just do it. That one too. Wonder if we can get just kind of sneak past a couple. I think we got some sharks in a minute too, if we're not careful. Yeah, look at that. Blade Jaw, not just shark, Blade Jaw. That shark's got its own name. Somebody named that dude. Let's you know, maybe just not deal with all that right now. Okay.
Must be down here somewhere.
So we got separatists all over around here. Which is weird. I thought they were dealing with Flame Legion, but now we got separatists. Problematic for us. Oh man, you know what? I'm kind of making this worse by using a. There we go. We might want to have something that's not projectile based, because these bashers, right, like the one we were just dealing with, they, you know, they got those reflects, and yeah, I'm smacking myself in the face with my own axes. There we go. See? Not a problem anymore.
Time to do some real damage.
Alright, but where's our boy Snarl? Where's he at? Like, finding a bunch of separatists and finding Snarl, not the same thing. Oh, Ash Legion Scout, Ash Legion Spy, Snarl. There he is. He's seated. He's hanging out. It's a little unclear if he was drinking tea or if he was in fact prisoner. Maybe he'll tell us.
Finally free. All the dumb luck. We were looking for Flame Legion and found a hidden base of separatist punks.
Oh my gosh. Well, birds of a feather, I guess. Oh, still got one left. Didn't see him. Alright, Snarl, let's get out of here, man.
Ha! Stupid separatists. Getting in the way of me killing Flame Legion. Seriously, I hate those guys.
Glad to help. You're a Snarl backdraft, right? General Soulkeeper says you're one of the finest scouts in the Ash Legion. The Vigil needs your skills, Snarl. Zaitan's armies overran Claw Island, and we need help to drive them back.
Claw Island? No! I was raised in Lion's Arch. There's no way I'm letting the city fall. Help me with this shaman, and I'll gladly join your fight.
That's excellent news. Do you think you can convince Galena to help us as well?
That squeaky old crankshaft? Well, for Lion's Arch, I suppose I can put up with anything. Sure, I can make it happen. Now come on, we've got a shaman to roll before we move out. Side path out over there.
All right.
Watch it. There's flame at the top of those stairs.
I think actually this is not right. So it's in the open world. This is another means of entry here. A little underwater tunnel. But I think for the story, I'm going the wrong way.
The Flame Legion camp is up this hill.
There we go. Okay, so it kind of comes back to the beginning when Galena, we were talking to Galena, and it was like, hey, your artillery should be keeping them busy. We should be able to kind of sneak around, and essentially flank them, right? So that's now what we have done. We have flanked the Ash Legion here. But there should be. There we go. That's what I was looking for. And here's the Flame Shaman, or the Smoke Shaman, or whatever it is. This Flame Legion foe that we are going to take down.
I could outrun a centaur.
Alright, easy peasy. So we have, like, Galena talking about Snarl a certain way, Snarl talking about Galena a certain way. But I think we're going to discover, like, it's a little more complex than that, right? Keep in mind, it's, Charr being Charr. Their social interaction doesn't work exactly the same way like ours might.
Chalk up another dead fool of a flame to the Ash Legion.
To you? Oh, you glorified sneak thief. You'd never have gotten him without my bombardment.
Oh, you think so? Care to make a bet on that fur bucket? What say we go somewhere and see who tallies more enemy kills?
I'll take that bet back, Draft. You're as good as beaten. Name the place.
Claw Island outside of Lion's Arch. Oh, I see you've heard what happened there. Good. Then you know what we're in for. Unless you're too scared.
Scared? Me? I'll pile those undead muzzle high, Backdraft. I'll see you at Claw Island, and we'll count our kills.
I have a request. We should visit the Pale Tree. The Mother has knowledge we shall need in the days ahead.
Of course, Traherne. I think that would be wise.
Risk so much.
Alright, so we've succeeded in bringing Snarl and Galena on board, but we still have ways to go here before we are ready to retake Claw Island. Yeah, look at that. So much. Doesn't that look like fun? What a great way to play the game. They should be proud of themselves. Alright. So let's talk to the Mother Tree about that. And so when we talk about the Mother Tree, really from the Sylvari point of view, we're really talking about, like, almost like let's have a personal consultation with, do I want to say God? Like, is that kind of, I'm not sure that that's a perfect parallel, but it's kind of the way that, because they all Sylvari were kind of born of this singular source, right? And they each have their own identities in their own ways. It's not like all Sylvari are like clones or anything, but they do all have like this singular point of genesis. So.
Hail, Mother. We seek your wisdom.
Bide a while. I have much to show you both. Come to me. Let me show you the way.
Mother Tree, I am sure by now you have heard of the destruction at Claw Island. Zhaitan is attacking in force.
The soul of Tyria mourned as her children were cut down by the beast. The land wept, and the world shuddered.
My friend and I seek to right that wrong. We wish to fight Zhaitan and take back what was lost. We've come to ask your counsel.
The answer is at the heart of Tyria's future, and your own. Both of you must face the darkness, become guiding stars in the night.
Is it even possible to defeat Zhaitan?
Only with great courage. Come. I will show you a vision of your future and the challenges to come. It is time, my brave friends. Your future awaits.
So this is couple of interesting things going on here. Sorry, I have something pulling me away in between during these cutscenes. So for Traherne, this is significant. You know, being Sylvari, so it looks different for us as a human.
In truth, this vision is unsettling. Let us hurry. The pale tree has lessons yet to be revealed.
So for Traherne, he's searching to what he associates as the most accessible and admirable or venerable source of wisdom.
After
Right?
the gods left, the humans banded into guilds and warred upon each other. Guild wars caused great devastation.
All right, that.
Nations faltered.
So now we're going to get two things are happening here. One, we get like this history lesson as we advance through this instance, and I think it's Guild Wars 2's opportunity, or the studio ArenaNet's opportunity to like insert a whole bunch of exposition and lore into a single instance, to kind of get that knocked out. Like, oh, now you know way more about the game if you didn't know anything about the lore from earlier playthrough, or whatever the case may be. And then you saw how the Guild Wars caused great devastation and so forth. The nations faltered. So when you ask the question, why isn't there more guild-related content in a game called Guild Wars? People who fall all over themselves and trip over their own 2 feet to defend the game are going to point to that. They're going to point to the fact that within the lore there was an event called the Guild Wars, which shaped the world of Tyria, and that was actually prior, not only to this game, but prior to Guild Wars 1. So it is never something that players participated in. It's part of the ancient lore of the game that precedes even the first game. And so it's a shaping thing at some point in the background of whatever. That is such a ridiculous thing for players to say. It's a very poor ground for them to stand on to defend the game in the first place. Guild Wars 2 was very guild-centric. It was very PvP-centric. Or Guild Wars 1, I mean. The first game was very dependent upon these things, and guilds were an important part of Guild Wars 1. They are less so part of Guild Wars 2, but you can certainly still have a good experience in Guild Wars 2, being part of a guild. But the mechanics of the game are, like less dependent upon that, I would argue at least. And to say, oh, there's this thing in the lore called the Guild Wars, which predates Guild Wars 1 or Guild Wars 2, either game, that's why the game is called that. Man, that's a pretty weak stance. Guild Wars was called Guild Wars when the first game was originally in development because the studio wanted guild versus guild competition to be a central part of the game. The fact that they failed that in Guild Wars 2 does not suddenly shift it back to like the lore as like this hugely important thing, right? So what are we doing here in this instance? Well, in an effort to get wisdom from the Pale Tree, and she's going to pop up throughout this instance, she has sent us not into the past. We're going to get a history lesson about the past from Traherne, but this is one possible future. So we almost got like this kind of Doctor Strange like multiverse, like this is a possible future for us in our fight against Zhaitan.
Where does this road lead, Mother?
To the ancient city of Arra, the dragon's stronghold. That is your goal. Along the way, you will glimpse things that may yet come to pass.
So again, things that may yet come to pass is kind of one possible future kind of thing, and Arra. So this all comes back to kind of what I was talking about earlier with the with when Lion's Arch was destroyed, and of course kind of the face of Tyria was changed by Zhaitan bringing ore to the surface. Arra was the capital of ore. So Zhaitan when he claimed all this for himself, he also claimed the capital city of the Orions as kind of his, his, I don't want to say residence, but kind of his central thing. And so that's gradually where we're making our way to. But along the way, we will kind of get like these history lessons from Traherne that lend to our understanding of the lore as well. And so that's where we're from time to time we'll get these speeches from him.
These creatures are formidable, tougher than the ones at Claw Island. How will we defeat them?
Alone you cannot, but with unity, you will find that many impossible things can be achieved.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of we'll get to more of that here real soon as far as where she's going with that. So a little bit of a word of warning, because this feels very time consuming. We got to kind of limp through and watch certain things take place. This instance has the potential to bug.
Defenders of Tyria, when Zaitan rose from slumber, the dragon found a long-dead nation and claimed it. The dragon expected the rest of Tyria to be as easily conquered. But we live, and we breathe, and we fight. All races, all orders, and all paths of life stand against Zaitan. The dragon is a fearsome enemy. It wants nothing more than to paralyze us with doubt. But I tell you this, we are not afraid. We will never kneel. Do you feel that? The dragon hears us. Hurrah and victory!
Is this a vision of the future? Mother, I do not understand. I'm no general.
You must be what Tyria needs you to be, my son. You have more courage than you realize.
So as I was mentioning, if you rush to this, and then you rush past this and go kill the enemies that they're on their way to kill and stuff, if you try to blow through this instance way too fast, you almost certainly are going to bug it out, and then you're not going to be able to complete it, and you won't have saved any time. So you really just got to kind of progress through this at Traherne's pace and the Mother Tree's pace, and accept that for what it is. So up until this point, in terms of the story and the character development, Traherne is a scholar. Traherne is a researcher. He is a foremost expert on ore and the land of ore and what Zaitan did to the ore, and as such, it did to the land of ore. And as such, he's certainly a good candidate, or a good person to have with us as we advance through this, but has not previously thought of himself as a warrior of any sort or a military leader of any sort. And yet that is what the Mother Tree is kind of showing him here, is that this lies, potentially, again, dependent on his own choices, but as this being one possible future, he may potentially in the future have an obligation to act in that fashion as some sort of military leader. Hurry. This shard of the dream. So this, kind of this, a possible future. And what the dream is also is like there's a whole conversation we had there. That's kind of an interesting thing as far as what does it actually show.
The past taints the future. Our heroes have fallen. They must be redeemed. You are the catalyst. You must bring them together. Heal their wounds.
Where were you? We needed you. Snav. I couldn't protect him. I can still hear him screaming.
Someone was going to die no matter what I did. Snav or my queen. I had to make a choice. You would have done the same.
Any of you! If the person you loved was in danger,
You would have done the same.
Destiny's Edge disbanded after their loss against the Elder Dragon, Kralkatorrik. To this day, they have unresolved grievances with one another.
And so all this, if you play through the story of the dungeons, the story mode dungeons, then you get all this, and you get to, and what they're saying in this little scenario here, because we're at level 60 for this story, is it presents it as not resolved, right? They still have these unresolved grievances. They really want you to play through the story mode dungeons. They really do kind of push that.
Trusted you and you failed him.
I tried to keep him out of danger. I would have given anything to prevent his death.
It wasn't enough. You weren't enough. You should have died Heir instead of him.
Logan was called away by his queen. Yet Heir chose to fight the Elder Dragon. They lost. Glint died, along with Snaff, Soja's mentor and friend.
Okay, and a lot of this, Heir and Zoja and Logan and Ritlock over here and Kaith and Falion are up here, is pretty irrelevant towards our story in Guild Wars 2. But this event that they're referring to here continues to kind of be relevant up all the way up through even End of Dragons and stuff.
Tried so very hard. They can't stop arguing. They can't understand that the dragons are more important. They'd throw everything away. I'm alone. I'm tired.
Come back to me. If the world must end, let us spend our last days in each other's arms.
These visions represent a possible future for Destiny's Edge, should they not resolve their quarrels. We need them to reconcile, if we're to defeat Zaitan.
And for the purposes of...
Where was I? Oh yes, the Guild Wars. Still angry over the loss of Ascalon, the Charr struck hard while humanity fought with itself. The Charr ravaged Ascalon with searing cauldrons and marched on Ore. As hope failed, an Orion named Vizier Kilbron read the Lost Scrolls and unleashed an ancient curse. The curse annihilated the Charr army, but it destroyed Ore as well. A cataclysm plunged the nation into the ocean. Everything was lost.
Okay, so a few things. Let's get caught up here. Regarding his statement that we will need Destiny's Edge to defeat Zaitan. Well, that does manifest as true within the story as they presented. So not an incorrect statement, but again, that was well within their control when they wrote and put the story together like that. This is all still core story, right? So everything should be cohesive. So the events where the Charr ravaged Ascalon with searing cauldrons and marched on Ore. So that is, we see some of that in Guild Wars 1, right? As far as the use of, but parts of Ore were not accessible in Guild Wars 1. I would be interested in kind of learning a little bit more about how that's I would need to deconflict that more before going too deep into that, because some of the events that are referred to for the Fall of Ore, I'm pretty sure predate Guild Wars 1. But the Searing Cauldron stuff is in Guild Wars 1. You see that, you experience it as the player. And then and you also see Vizier Kilbron read the Lost Scrolls and unleash an ancient curse and so forth. Now, Vizier Kilbron, though, there's more to that as well. That is not referenced here, and you could play the first Guild Wars if you really wanted to see that. He reads the Lost Scrolls and unleashes an ancient curse, which far exceeds really almost anything that we really see in terms of in either game. In terms it's one of the most catastrophic events in either game, and that's what plunges Ore initially into the ocean, right? Although again, there's much of Ore I thought was already kind of, I don't know. I would love to go back and look at that. It's been a minute since I played Guild Wars 1 though. What it suggests though is that there's another magic, not the ley line type magic we see in Guild Wars 2. But there is another source of magic, more ancient source of magic, and I would love to see them explore that a little bit more. Because there's no basis on anything that Guild Wars 2 gives us for that type of power.
Walk inside and seek truth, but be warned, the future can change in the blink of an eye.
So again, we get that warning that this whole, like everything we're seeing here is, is mutable in some way. You know, things may not happen this way depending on other, other events or, other variables that may in fact be either outside the Mother Tree's vision or outside of our control, right? Alright. I should have used that earlier. That would have successfully reflected that if I had used it when I should have. Alright.
To see the sky, feel once more the wind and the sun. Although my nation is drowned, the slow blood still pulses in its veins. Or was once the heart of Tyria, so full of life. I was the last of a line of proud rulers. Now my nation is enslaved. What do you seek here? Or has nothing left to give, save ash and bones?
We came to fight Zaitan. Can you give us counsel?
Zaitan can be defeated, but that will not save Or. The land must be cleansed of this poison. Seek the source.
Is Zaitan the source? Or is there some other poison that fouls Or? Please, tell us.
Seek the source. Cleanse Or. Seek the source.
Okay. So this is, for us, it's like a thing, okay? That's good for us. But really, we are still primarily concerned with defeating Zaitan. Who is all this really relevant
Zaitan,
to?
The elder undead dragon that
Charr.
pulled Or from the depths. The massacre of Or gave the dragon fertile ground to create its horrific army. Zaitan's power does not end here. In slaughter, its army grows stronger. Claw Island was just the beginning.
The dragons are destruction. They will not stop until all life on Tyria is destroyed.
So earlier, talking about design and sunken Lion's Arch there in the sea portion of what is now Lion's Arch and how cool that was. We again, kind of thematically get some of the same stuff when it comes to Or, and we'll see a lot more of Or later on in the playthrough when our story takes us here for a significant amount of time. But the idea that all this was once like a mighty city is pretty cool. Now there's a lot that we don't get in terms of like making sense of just like these giant worlds, and that's like a huge design theme for the area. You see it all through here. I don't know what that was meant to be, but there is a lot of cool stuff, partially destroyed buildings, a lot of these pillars. And of course, this was underwater for a time and then got raised up. So you see like coral and sea life attached to things that are now above land and stuff. So a lot of really fun design cues, and I think really cool stuff. This is by no stretch of the imagination like my least favorite instance. I think there's some really cool stuff going on here. It is a little bit of a time-consuming instance, but, what are you going to do?
Your last challenge on the road to Arra will be the Guardian of the Gate. Beyond this, I cannot foretell. Once before, I gave this sword to a beloved son. Now, I pass it on to you, Charr. Its name is Calitborg. Bear it with honor, and the sword will never fail you. Test yourselves against the Guardian, then return to me in the Grove.
So the whole thing about this sword. So now he has been bestowed this sword. As of this moment forward, Khalidbolg, this unique named greatsword here, Traherne wields it. So kind of a substantive change there. The reference to it previously being wielded by someone else, by her previously giving it to someone else, you have the option of experiencing that during the Sylvari personal story in the first 10, 20, 30 level. Like you have an opportunity to see that. I don't remember if it's 10, 20, or 30. I don't think it's 10. I think it's probably the 20 level story if I remember right. But it's been a while, so I'm not 100% certain. So this, fighting the Gate Guardian, this is kind of, so these days it tends to kind of feel like an irrelevant thing because of the way the game works now with mega servers and so forth. At launch, there wasn't mega servers, so Ferguson Crossing would have its own version of this Ara map, which is Cursed Shore. And if you wanted to access the Ara dungeons, you had to keep that part of the map open. You had to unlock the entrance to the dungeons. And the boss of the event associated with that is that guy. So now this is just like the end of that little experience. We beat him and we move forward in the story. If we go to Ara right now, the dungeon will almost certainly be open. The temples are held almost all the time now. Because of Mega Server, because of power creep, they're very easy events now, so on and so forth. At launch, they were harder events. They were specific to servers. The dungeons were open less often. People would actually have to make a concerted effort to open some dungeons or to clear the temples in ore, that kind of thing. Okay, so this is this is another really, really fun choice. So at the end of this, the Mother Tree gives us a choice, right? To confront the dragon, you first must overcome your greatest fear. Okay, so that's kind of like a, like we've seen that in plenty of fantasy series and MMORPGs. And so like this is a pretty normal thing, right? We got these three choices here. Each one of these gives you like a different story choice in a really substantive way. Right. This is my favorite. This is the one we're going to choose. There are a number of reasons that I'm going to choose that. But both of these also provide a lot in terms of understanding the core story, understanding some of the lore. Like all three of these are like really good. So if you were to play through the core personal story 3 times, and I understand to do that, you'd have to really love the game to do that. You'd have to enjoy the story to do that. And many players have, but many players have no interest in it. If you were to say, I'm going to play through the core story 3 times, once for each, maybe you're doing it on different races, also once on each order. You want to do the Priory, the Vigil, and the Order of Whispers. Then make sure you choose each one, one of these. Also, make sure you see all 3 of these if you're going to do that. Because to miss one of these, I genuinely feel like you're missing a big piece of the core story. We're going to choose this one. An innocent person who believed in me would die because I couldn't save them. Which genuinely, if you're a military leader, like losing people because of your own failures is a genuine concern. Although that would also be tied to like, all 3 of these kind of have that running through them. But we're going to pick this one. All right.
To know the future, even the mere possibility can be a great burden. I am sorry, brave heroes, that you must walk this path.
Must these things come to pass, Mother? Must I take up Khalidbolg and travel into the heart of Ore?
You must both take up this mantle. Traherne, your duty is to cleanse Ore. Your friend shall aid you, and then face the dragon.
And Claw Island? Can we retake it and save Lion's Arch?
I believe so. But that will not be your first test. The dragon seeks to destroy its enemies before they can strike. I see within the dream that Zaitan's forces enter battle, not against Lion's Arch, but at the heart of your order.
My order headquarters? No. How could that be? How could Zaitan even know?
Those who have been corrupted reveal everything to Zaitan. Nothing is secret, least of all those places where his enemies hide.
If my friends are in danger, I have to go to them. They have no warning. They'll be slaughtered.
I will go with you. Our fates are bound together, and from this day forward, we fight as one.
Farewell, valiant souls. May your wild hunt be successful, and may your courage illuminate the dark of night.
Okay, so a sudden emerging threat. We know we want to rescue Claw Island, but before we can do that, we have this other threat to deal with. So we are going to go, we're going to continue to charge ahead and deal with that before going to take back Claw Island. However, I am going to insert another video break as far as the actual videos go here, because as short as the level 50 story was, the level 60 story is quite lengthy, and I don't want my videos to be running quite that long. So, where are we at right now? So we just went through this vision with the Pale Tree, a vision of Ore, a vision of the future, where Traherne, this necromancer that we met when initially going to review and then ultimately fleeing Claw Island, he is now kind of our partner in this as we move on Ore and learn to defeat the Elder Dragon. He and I were in this vision of Ore, and we have gained perspective on the challenge that is ahead for us, but we've also discovered that there is an imminent threat to the Vigil headquarters. So going forward, we're going to be addressing that threat so that we can then look to retake Claw Island. So that's what we got in the future, and that's where we will pick it up in the next video.